Hello, my Juicy Co-creators. Lilu here from Big Island on Hawaii on the Juicy Living Tour, and I promised you I would do a part 2 with Maika, and here he is. I flew back in this island to see this wonderful man. He's such a great teacher, and I feel he has a lot to offer, especially during this ascension to love, as he called it. So I'm really excited to spend this moment again with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and aloha, everyone.
Aloha. Lots of love, actually, from Hawaii. Psh, to you. Tell us where we are, because this is a magic spot.
This is Keala Kekua Bay. And it means in Hawaiian, it's the pathway to the gods. So it's where the energy of the gods came into the island.
And literally here every day, there's dolphins coming in. Beautiful angels coming in and blessing people.
Most days, they're wild dolphins, so they come in the bays to rest. And we have been blessed to be able to spend time with them and see what it's like to live like a dolphin pod.
So tell us about the ascension to love, because I really enjoy your presentations here. How do you define ascension so that we're all on the same page?
That's a good question. Yeah, ascension is a word which means to rise up. And so how I use the word in that as this time of ascension, people are talking about ascension. And for me, there are different ways to look at it. We could say we're ascending in vibration, or we're ascending in consciousness. And that's the way I see it. We actually have the opportunity now to raise our consciousness to a completely new level than anything we've known as a species, or anything that most of us have known in this lifetime.
So there is a choice.
I think it's all about choice, and it's really understanding what choice is and how we have the ability to make choice from a conscious level, and also to understand how we're also programmed at an unconscious level to believe in our limitations. And part of that is actually a program. It's a DNA program. It's a program of our society, of our civilization. And the idea of ascending is ascending past those limitations. So we're actually rising up above the limitations of what we perceive as reality into a new possibility of love being the guiding force, or the cohesive force that we actually live in and live with and create from.
So how does that work when we create from love? Because I've seen quite some magic happening around the Juicy Tour, but how do you explain this? I know that when we do some things with the heart, when we do it from love, there is this kind of, it unlocks a door, it unlocks possibilities, it unlocks energy, we feel the guidance. Tell us more about this whatever that is.
Well, it's a really deep subject, because it really has to do with a deeper understanding of life itself, how creation actually works. And it seems like from a quantum physics level, where as they look for the secrets of life in physics and science to understand that, the deeper and deeper they look, the more they find that everything is just energy. Everything is vibration. And there seems to be a law in creation that like vibration creates like experience. You know, in the physical world, in the physical dimension, there's a law in magnetism, and it's called opposites attract. So male, female, light and dark, everything has its opposite in the physical world, and it attracts each other. In the mental world, in the energy worlds, like attracts like. And so when we are looking to co-create reality, because we're in a field that's been created for us, let's say we haven't created the earth, so to speak. You know, we don't create everything in our world. We haven't created trees and flowers and birds. But we're in a field. It's almost like a game, like a computer game almost. And the field's been set for us. And part of the game is learning that we actually have the ability to participate in the co-creation with our mind. And what it seems like as human beings, we either create from a default program, we create from what we've been taught, our genetic heritage, what we believe, what our society, religions, and we co-create a reality that is in sync with what we've been taught in many ways. And so the idea of us ascending past these programs and really moving up to a whole new reality starts, I believe, with the heart. The heart creates a super level of energy. You know, there's been a lot of research even that they believe that the heart actually powers the brain. The heart creates a huge magnetic field in its pumping, in its energy. And the more we turn that on, the more that vibration, when we turn it on with love, love has a natural intelligence. And that natural intelligence creates a strong magnetic field. That strong magnetic field creates more health. The way that the heart actually pumps the blood, it charges up the blood with energy. And when we get charged up, and we use that charged up energy to then focus our intention, then we actually send out a vibration with a love vibration. And then that starts to attract things into our life like magic. Because the system is alive. The system is actually God. It's a giant intelligence that knows everything. It's everywhere. And in this field of vibration, what the scientists call the quantum field, or what spiritual people call spirit, you know, everything is spirit. So it's all knowing, and it runs according to these laws. So when we start to raise our vibration and we break free from the old heavy limiting beliefs, we start to convince ourselves, you know, there's that old saying, fake it till you make it. Well, part of that's true. Part of that is what we want to do is we want to use this incredible gift we have called our imagination. And when we start imagining what it would be like, what it would feel like to have love, to have magic in our life that we really enjoy, the more we start to imagine that, the more the system starts to aim towards that. And oftentimes when people start to do that, what happens is the resistance programs come up. Oh, you can't do that. That's not possible. You know, and we hear that, especially from very scientific people. You know, that's not possible. You can't do that. You can't levitate. That's impossible. All these things. And according to that belief system and that paradigm, that's true. We can't. But there's things happening cosmologically. There's things happening at many dimensions. And one of the things I talk about in the presentation is a lot of the prophecies that have been held for thousands and thousands of years. And even in the prophecies, they tell us after we go through this purification, which is a purification of the limitations, purification of our destructive habits and behaviors. When that's purified, a whole new field will be created for us. And for those of us who want to live in that field, we start now. We start preparing by ascending ourselves. You know, again, in the old spiritual teachings, there are many things that we can do. The meditation, you know, yoga. These things were designed to raise the vibration of the field, to connect us into the cosmic field of all possibilities. And in that, we start to awaken our potential. Because again, when we start to look into science, and science looks at our DNA and they say, wow, about 95% of the potential in the DNA isn't turned on. It's not working. Why is that? They call it junk DNA. You know, when we think about what scientists learn about our brain, they say, well, we're using about 5% of our capacity. Well, that means 95% isn't really online. So, you know, even just with a simple understanding, what would happen if we started to turn this stuff on? And what are the keys to turning this stuff on? How do we turn on what's lying inside of us? Because it's already here. We don't have to go anywhere. We really don't have to do anything. It's all in here. It's really learning the alchemy of the self. And it was Socrates who said several thousand years ago, he said, know thyself, know what the self is. Because when you understand what the self is as a part of an energy matrix that has these multidimensional layers of physical, emotional, psychological energies, when we truly understand that and we turn it on, with love especially, because love is the magic. When we start to turn it on, we're capable of so much more. We don't have to get caught in the old paradigm. And as we look around us, we can see there are all these earth changes. Everything is changing. And it even seems like negative forces are getting stronger. You know, we hear about all these wars and people going crazy and shooting each other. And that's the other polarity. As the energy's amplifying, they're amplifying what's in us. You know, these are cosmic. The sun is doing this. The galaxy is doing this. It's just, it has to do with energy. It's like if you take a really powerful magnet and you put it near a weak magnet. What the powerful magnet does is it strengthens the weak magnet. It gives it more power. And that's what's happening cosmologically. And when we get more power, our mind starts to co-create more. It sends the vibrations that's in us. So usually that's from a subconscious level, because most of our creative processes actually are going on subconsciously. We're not even aware of it. We're running patterns from when we were 2 years old or 1 year old, or we're running genetic patterns. And these are just playing by default. And that's why people keep getting what they're vibrating at. You know, and they're wondering, why are people doing this? Why is this happening to me? How do I stop them from doing this to me? Mm-hmm. And it's really a co-creative energetic process. And nobody's to blame for this. It's just pure energy. It's just how energy works through our emotional body and our mind. And the way to do that, it's like with a computer that's running on a default program. What do? If we want to improve the program, if we don't like it, what do?
Upgrade it.
We upgrade. We go buy new software, right? And then we have to learn the software. We have to learn how the new software works. And people will make tremendous effort in doing that with computers, but we don't really have a game book for the human self. We don't really have the map for the mind or the emotions. Like, how do we just go from this default program, which feels really bad, to feeling really good? How do we do that? And that's the great mystery of being a human being, you know?
Is there that much of a to-do list, or rather just being? Because it seems, as you were saying in your presentation, the sun is transmitting a lot of information and energy. Our DNA is being upgraded. It kind of feels also like somewhat of a natural process. Or do we really have to work hard at it and really prepare ourselves now? There's a fine balance, it seems.
Yeah, there's a little bit of both, actually, because the idea of this is a cosmological game. It's the byproduct of a natural intelligence we might want to call Great Spirit or God is in charge, actually, even though we think we are as human beings. There's a higher intelligence involved, and that's always offering us information. It's always offering us options. It's just that our antennas aren't turned on. So there's part of it's a natural process, and then part of it is, like I said, most people are running on default. So as the energy amplifies, it actually amplifies our default programs. So there is actually we have to participate. Yeah. And for me, it really has a lot to do with feeling. Like, what does your life feel like? Does your life feel good to you? Is your heart turned on? You know, what percentage of your day is your heart turned on? And if it's not, then we do have to make an effort. We actually have to. When I started to learn about these things, I realized that I didn't learn about love as a child. So I actually had to learn about it. And I started reading books, because I didn't know what else to do. I started to learn about love, like, how does love work? What do people do when they love each other? I had to learn all these things because it wasn't part of my ancestry learning. So the idea that, we have to pay attention, and there are ways to tune into the information that's coming, and that's why meditation, the idea of slowing down our minds, that's what meditation is about. It's about slowing down the activity in the brain, because oftentimes the way the subconscious mind works is there's all this electrical activity in our brain. Scientists believe we talk to ourselves about 400 words a minute. We're constantly talking to ourselves, and most of those are programs from default programs. Again, I can't do that. How do I do that? I don't deserve this. It's all happening at a subconscious level. And if we just let that stuff run, then we can't ever find something new. And the way we can actually participate is to check in. We literally have to slow everything down, and that's one of the things the Hopi talk about in their prophecy, that when things speed up, because they were shown what was going to happen at this time, and they said, when things start speeding up, because they are at the end of the cycle, things are going to start like really speeding up really fast, they said, slow down. The faster things get, slow down. And as we slow down, and it doesn't mean you have to stop doing your life, it means you have to slow down your nervous system. It means you have to relax into being in life. And the more we do that, and the more you take the time to tune in, the more you can feel the higher programs that are wanting us to ascend, to evolve, because that's really the process. We're going through this evolutionary process. And it is very much like a radio. You know, if you have a radio, there are all these options of stations that you can tune into, right? Some of them, you tune into that station and it feels terrible in the body. Some of them are okay, some of them you really like. But all the waves are in the space at the same time. All of those signals, those stations are in the same space at the same time. But it depends on what you tune into, you know, and you have to know that you actually are in control of your dial. You know, and learn how to tune in. And we do that by feeling. Like, okay, if I tune into being mad at my mate, how does that feel? Well, it doesn't feel too good. Let me try a new option, you know, and how do I do that? Well, let me learn about things like forgiveness and compassion and being kind. Let me learn how to feel what that feels like and then practice doing that with other people who are doing that. You know, because again, in the magnetic attraction game, in the mind level, like attracts like. You know, so we tend to hang out with people that are like us. You know what I mean? We don't hang out with people who think differently than us. You know, we tend to hang out with people who think and do things like we do, you know? So that's part of the process, is get involved with people who are moving in that direction. You know, take your focus, your attention off of all the negative stuff. Like, we can just remove that from our space and start focusing on what actually feels good. And the more you do that, as you've learned in your journey, you know, like what the book you wrote, you know, you were doing something you really didn't like, and you went, phew, and you went, what am I going to do? Let's go just do what feels good. And magic happens. You know, it's because it's a choice you made. And as you dialed in, you put an intention out there with all this passion that you had. Yeah. Even though there was fear underneath that, I'm sure, you know, how am I going to afford this and all these things? But you moved through that energy. You could have listened to that and you said, oh yeah, that's way too scary. I'll just get another job because it's safe. And we're not in that time right now. We're in a time where there's unlimited potential available to us, and where we're going, the possibility of where we're going, you know, and studying the ancient cultures, especially the Eastern teachings that talk about our potential is activated, especially when we activate these mysterious forces in us. You know, in the East they call it the Kundalini. It's this power that we have inside of us that's dormant. And they go through a very deep understanding of the process of awakening that. And one of the processes, you have to purify yourself emotionally, psychologically, and chemically. You know, purification, getting the cells ready to take more energy. Because that's what our nervous system is. It's like a computer. There are wires that run it. There's certain minerals and different things inside of us that hold an electrical charge. And it's the charge of energy that amps us up to give us more awareness, to give us more power. And when we focus that power in our hearts, and then that energy starts to motivate us and move us towards what feels good, you know, in all of our being, then there's just magic. The system then takes over. You know, and then guides you, and sometimes that guidance is just real clear. Boom, make a left here, go talk to that person. And they're just like little intuition inclinations that we get inside, you know, and some of them don't make any sense, right? But
less and less, actually, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like lately, the intuitions and just have like, really? Is that really? That's not logic at all.
And then magic happens.
Yes.
You know, and that's part of ascending our consciousness. You know, if you look at consciousness as layers, and various layers have different vibrations. The lower layers of consciousness have very dense vibrations, very thick, hard, mucky, stuck energy. You know, and the idea that if you're in that kind of energy, there's a way to move. You have to do something to move inside yourself. You know, and you can do that starting even as simple as exercise, changing your diet, because if your blood system is all clogged with all kinds of foods that clog up your body, it's really hard to raise your consciousness and go into a higher vibration, a higher charge of energy if you're all clogged up. You know, and that works emotionally, it works psychologically. So it's part of this is, number one, taking inventory of yourself, like sitting down with yourself and going, where am I in my life? You know, am I happy? Am I doing what I want to do? Am I really, you know, what is it that I really would like in life? And check in with your heart.
Yes.
you know. And if there's stuff from the past that's clogging your energy field, you know, look for ways to help move that. And you can do that simply by starting that intention. You know, like, wow, I'd like to find someone who can help me heal these things. Let me learn some techniques that I can use, and start to do that, and start to jump in this wave, you know, because it's a wave of energy. Literally, they're cosmic waves of energy that are blasting us. You know, scientists are looking at this stuff and they're going, we don't understand what's going on here. This doesn't make any sense to us. All our little models of how the universe should work and how the cosmos should work, this doesn't fit into our model. How does this happen?
Where's the God particle?
Yeah, that's right. They're looking for the, well, if we can figure out how to get the God particle, we can figure out to make and get whatever we want. And the idea is we can do that already. We don't need to figure it out with our logical left brain. It's all actually here. And it really is raising our consciousness up to a level that we can tap into the signals, you know, that are coming. And again, like a radio or equipment, you know, there's a radio that picks up AM, there's a radio that picks up FM, there's ham radio sets, there's cell phones. These are all different vibrations that are traveling through the air all together. And God's right here, right now. And the idea of being able to tune into that is getting the system tuned up. You know, and that happens the more we start to do what we love, the more we treat ourselves with love and respect and honor, and understand that this is actually a sacred vehicle. Yes. You know, it's an amazing, incredible vehicle, and the potential in it is unlimited.
You often refer to the Hopi prophecies and traditions. What is it about Hopi that really seduced you or wanted you to learn more about it?
Well, the Hopi are very interesting people. They have an oral tradition that goes back, we really don't know how many thousands of years. We know they have stone tablets that have actually been carbon dated well over 10,000 years. And in their oral tradition, they talk about different phases of life on Earth. That there have been 3 other phases where the Earth was destroyed because human beings became corrupt. And in their teachings, they were told exactly what would happen in this time cycle. And this is for thousands and thousands of years. They passed this on from father to son or daughter, and generation to generation in a verbal way. And so they knew even when the Europeans were going to come and try to force them to change their belief system, they knew this was going to happen. And they said, don't be seduced by all these things, by the material reality, because that's part of the system, that's the corrupt system. They said, don't be seduced by that. And then they were told to wait for certain signs in the cosmos. And when these signs started to appear, they were to start to tell the other people about these signs and why they were happening, why is the weather going weird, why are people doing these things. They were given all this information, and when the time was right, they were told to go out and teach people. And where the people were ready, they would hear the message. And so the Hopis were very specific. You know, they didn't give a date because there wasn't such a thing as a date for them, for like a 2012 or anything. There wasn't a date where something was going to happen. It was all about symbols. And the symbols were going to be events on the earth that would tell us, like giant hurricanes and floods and fires and strange things happening in the space and the sun doing very weird things. So they had a very comprehensive understanding of the time that we're living in. And when I started to study their prophecies, I looked at many other prophecies, and they all kind of fit in together. And it was really interesting because I was working on my presentation one day, and I met a gentleman. Somebody brought some friends over here to my place, and I was talking to him, and I was talking about my presentation. I talked to him about the Hopi, and he said, you know, very interesting, I was just at the Hopi reservation last week, and one of the grandfathers took me to Hopi Rock where the prophecies were. And then he took me on the other side of the rock to the prophecies after the Great Shift. Because usually for people who are telling about the Hopi prophecies, they tell about the prophecies up to the shift, like all the things that were going to happen. And this Hopi elder took him to the other side of the rock where there was another prophecy on the rock. And it talked about the prophecy after the changes were complete and the new world that would happen. And the space people would come and help us to actually rebuild the new world. And in looking at these ancient prophecies and then studying science, like again, science looks at us and says, our potential has just not been tapped into yet. We have a potential that is unlimited. Really, even in genetics, they understand that there's a good possibility that we could live indefinitely. The cell is actually designed to live indefinitely. It replicates and we age, and we have an average age of about 70 years because it's a program in the DNA. And they're learning how to manipulate this program, and they believe within 20 or 30 years we will be able to live indefinitely by their manipulation. But there's also a natural system that is designed to help evolve us. And I believe that's really the ascension process, is the evolution of our species to love. That's really what, for me, the ascension is the system, which is an intelligent system. Again, if we look at cosmologically and ecologically, everything has a natural intelligence that's evolving itself to its next higher potential. And I think we've reached the peak. And even the Hopi talk about this time, that everybody who's ever lived on the earth would want to be alive at this time. And I believe that's why there's 7 billion people here, because we're all here to literally create an energy field, and out of that the next level of our species will evolve, and it will be turning us on. It will be turning us on to our higher potential.
One of their signs is this blue star, isn't it, coming down, which is you say it's the comet?
Yeah, the Hopi, they have some things that they share, and they have some things that are secret to them. But what they have shared is there would be signs in the sky. One of them is what's called the blue kachina. Kachina are spirits to them. They're magical spirits in a sense. They're super beings, yeah. And for them, the way they look at spirits is very different than how we look at things. Like when we look out in the sky, we see stars and comets, we give them names and all kinds of stuff. Many of the indigenous people, including the Hopi, see these as spirit beings. These are living beings. These are states of consciousness. And what they talked about, that in the cycles of time, at the end of the cycle we're in, because it's not the end of the world, it's end of the world as we know it. It's a paradigm. It's a phase that we're in. Right now we're in chaos, and in science there's a chaos theory that things in the material world go from order to chaos to higher order. That's the natural process. And so what the Hopi talk about is when this blue star kachina, when they see it, that's the sign that the space people, or consciousness, God, if you want to call it that, is telling them that we're really close to the end of times. So it's really important to have a good relationship with the Creator, with the earth. And when we turn on our hearts, and this is the Hopi saying this, the idea is to be living in your heart. And if you're living in your heart, no matter what happens, no matter what it looks like, hurricanes, disasters, all these things, that can't affect you. Because you'll build a field like a shield, and you'll be protected in love, and consciousness will know that you are one of those vibrations and will use you as the seed for the next creation in the new earth. So it's really about using the tools of our imagination and our possibilities of living in love, and now is the time to be there. Because as the Hopi say, it's going to be one day. All this stuff is going to build up like a crescendo. It's going to get faster and faster. Things are going to get more and more crazy, and then one day it'll go whew, and it'll be a phase shift. And where you are in that time will determine the trajectory of your soul into the next phase of evolution, of creation. Again, it gets kind of complex, and we go deeply into that, but that's kind of the gist of it, So the idea that these signs have spoken to the Hopi, and everything that they talked about is coming true. It has come true. It is true. It's happening right now. There's a lot of different information about what the end times is going to be, disasters and all kinds of weird stuff, or just everything's going to be happy and wonderful. So really, people have to feel what's their path. Because if you get caught up in fear, you're going to go on that path. And there's a lot of stuff to be afraid of out there. You know, they're poisoning us. They're doing all these weird things, all these secret government things that they're doing. And it's really important to understand that they're going to create their reality. You know, people who are into that negative control thing, they're going to create their reality, but it's not going to be my reality. You know, they're going to go create somewhere else with their reality. But those people who love the earth and have a love for the earth, because the earth is going through an ascension process.
Yes.
It's a vibratory ascension process. We can see it, you know, why the earth, all these volcanoes, if you're paying attention to any of this stuff at all, we have volcanoes going off everywhere. The earth plates are shifting. Weather patterns are going bonkers because the earth, the vibratory rate of the earth is changing. And as it's changing, it's shaking everything up and it's getting ready to rebirth.
And for you, being in Hawaii, on those volcanoes on a small island in the Pacific, is safe?
You know, it's been very interesting. My journey is a very interesting journey too. And I've just been led places. And it was really interesting because back in the early 90s, I was studying some things and some psychics who were talking about, like all these people back then were talking about California falling in the ocean at that time, you know. And Spirit said, go to California. And I went, I don't want to go to California. And it was just like zoom. And when I went there, all these weird things happened there, you know. So for me, I have watched how Spirit has led me on my journey, and I end up where the energy seems to be amped up. Yeah. And for me, I use that energy to, again, to help purify myself and to raise my vibrations and just love where I am. Because, you know, the truth is, Lilu, we all have the experience and the belief that we're all going to die anyway. You know, so how do we deal with that? We really don't in our society. There are cultures that do, like the Tibetans, you know, or the Egyptians. They had a real deep understanding of the death process and then the soul journey after death. And they lived their life, actually, part of their life was lived to prepare for that journey. You know, that what you did in your life is going to help create your soul journey after your body decays and goes away. But the idea is we are eternal. And when we really get that, when we really understand that we're eternal and nothing can really harm us, it can only influence us. And it influences the way we think and feel, which then attracts the soul and takes the soul on a journey. You know, and that's karma. From lifetime to lifetime, we follow the same patterns because everything is a pattern. That's why if we have a belief system that's a pattern in the subconscious mind, it just keeps replicating itself energetically. You know, if we had a terrible childhood or we had all these traumas and these traumas made us feel bad, we just keep replicating that feeling pattern. And again, one of the ways to break that pattern is to feel differently. You know, we have to teach ourselves how to feel differently. And if you want to feel love, you want to feel happiness, you got to practice. You just got to start practicing, like how to do that. Let's go out and have fun. Let's love the earth. Let's sing. Let's dance. Let's have fun.
Let's have a juicy life.
You know, what else is there?
Yeah. Well, awesome, Maika. It's been so great. I know we'll see each other again in a few months. Probably less. Thank you. Thank you for all your wonderful teachings.
Thank you very much. Bless you all.
Blessings. Aloha.